Well, I guess I could start off by saying, I kind of lean toward hanging on to, the Bible and the Word, not for religious purposes, but because of what I see prophetically, historically, civilization-wise, people, places, and events. It's undeniable, and so it's my main reference guide. But as far as the myths, I like to start by saying when we think of the word myth, most people turn off their brains. You don't really research it any further because myth means lie or myth means fairy tale, like I think I mentioned before. And there's a word, mythos, which is synonymous with history. It doesn't mean lie. And so, the more people begin to become aware, the more they're going to start seeing these things on television and commercials everywhere. They're just going to start seeing it. And one of the major ways that you can see it is if you were to peel back the layers of our holidays. I'm pretty sure many people out there have wondered about the origin of some of the things, like Santa Claus.
Well, that sounds like a perfect one to start off with. I know a few things, and to be honest, I do not advocate Santa Claus or teach that within my own family. So, what's your thinkings and ideas on that one?
Well, I'll tell you. If you mention Santa as anything other than a jolly, benevolent, chubby man, it's going to cause a lot of issues with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are passionate about that. And I mentioned this in my book about how that's what they want. They want to steal your passions. And so when you look at Santa, if you scramble the letters Santa, you get Satan. Now that could be coincidental. You could say that's coincidental. You can also say it's coincidental that he's wearing a red suit. That's coincidental.
But then we all know there's no coincidences. So
exactly, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Now, as far as his little helpers, if you look up the word elf, you get mischievous creature. So now, why does Santa need mischievous creatures to help him build toys for little kids? And so, if you look a little further, I know there are many people that subscribe to the pagan religion, and that's fine. That's their choice, But the pagans used to call the devil Old Nick. Well, what do we call Santa? Old Nicholas. Jolly old Saint Nick. And so that could be a coincidence, but maybe not. And it goes a little further. In Scandinavia, there was a ritual with the Scandinavians in which they would build an altar and they would put a chim on top of their roof. Now this is years before America. They put a chim. We call it today a chimney. And
it
so
was actually years before Christianity too. If you look at the word holiday, you can break it down into holy day. And
yes.
Christian holidays actually go a lot further back than
Exactly.
And these are really just pagan holidays, correct?
Right, and this is where if you look in the Old Testament, there's a lot of controversy about the Old Testament and why God would say, do not intermingle, do not intermarry, do not take their gods, don't intermingle with the pagans and stuff like that. There's a reason for it, and it's if people are willing to embrace the truth or not. That's the bottom line. The truth, it hurts, it's difficult to embrace, but the truth is the truth. And so, well, back on topic, as far as the chim, they would have a sacrifice, a goat or whatever, and they would sacrifice to a god that rode through the air on a sled, pulled by two goats named Gnasher and Crasher. Prancer, Dancer, Dasher, Donner. Does that sound familiar?
Wow.
So
okay.
So yes. So now it starts to come into focus a little bit more, and then when you consider who was riding on the sled, it was the god Thor. Now, when I was young, Thor was a superhero with the Super Friends. Now, further study shows that Thor was in league with the devil himself. And so now, if you also look further, you'll see that Thor is also the god of the Vikings. And they wore the horns, and they rode in what? Dragon ships.
Yeah.
Who's the dragon? You know? And so
wow.
all of this,
so
comes.
basically, we're pointing to, oh, excuse me, that these ancient Scandinavians were truly pagan idols, and they really praise these things.
Mhm. Yes. I mean, they really.
I did not know that. I thought they were just almost non-denomination. They were just Viking pirates. I didn't know that they actually had beliefs like that.
Respectfully, for what we're talking about and what you're saying, Odin was the god and Thor was the son of Odin.
Okay.
Similar to the Jesus and God story. People, Christians, they say Jesus was the son of God, Thor was the son of Odin. Just out of my research, that's what I've gotten.
Well,
no, that's true.
Odin,
exactly right.
Isn't Odin part of Greek mythology also?
Yeah, yes it is. But let me
correct on that.
Poseidon
was
in
okay.
And Zeus was in Roman.
There we
now,
go.
If I may add a little something about the Odin Thor thing, that's exactly right. But now, if you the further you check and start cross-referencing, you'll see there's a connection between Thor and the devil, and this is why the horns, and the Vikings had the horns, and then they rode around in the dragon ships. There's a connection.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
this is honestly I've slept on, guys. So I'm really fascinated right now. Please keep going on.
No, and there's more as far as the little kids. This is what the focus is. The focus is on little kids. This is why in the Word, Jesus says you must become as little kids. There's a reason for that, and the devil counterfeits everything that God has ever done. So if God has a son, then of course you're going to see the same type of similarities with demigods having sons and claiming to be benevolent and requiring worship and sacrifice and all this stuff.
This
Go ahead.
also
What you gonna
takes place all over the world in a lot of cultures.
Oh yes.
Esoteric culture. The same type of story with the same type of stuff going on in reference
the
to
same deities.
The dragon, if you want to call them reptilians. We can get real deep into that subject if you really want to.
I say we
listen.
take it there.
Hey, listen. Hey. You know what? I like the format, and I've structured myself in accordance to the format. So I'm ready. Once we get to that segment, boy, we can really take off with that. But I like to branch off into some more of the holidays.
Yes.
As Mel called it, holy days. That's so accurate.
You can break down a whole lot of words like that, and it's strange how our system of speech is set up with certain words that you can break down into certain things like history, his story.
But that's right. That's right. His story. That's right.
Yes, I'll definitely like to tackle some more of these fairy tales and myths we were talking about earlier. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, the next one is Halloween. I mean, many of us have I'm pretty sure delved into some studies about Halloween.
Yeah.
All Hallows Eve and stuff like that.
In the Latins, take that as the Day of the Dead, of course, and celebrate
it.
Like it's Christmas, really. That's a real strange factor I see. What's your opinion on that? People really going forth and celebrating the dead rather
Well,
than
I
life.
tell you what. Mm-hmm. No, I tell you what. As far as the celebration of the dead, that one thing is I think that one's the most easily to be. One that's not as easily seen is the dressing up of, different things like vampires, witches, demons, you name it. The dressing up of for fun, all in the name of fun. But now if people would really realize that truth is stranger than fiction, that there were actually real vampires, that there were actually, there are actually real demons, and, of course, witches, and definitely werewolves, that they actually did exist. And if people would really realize what those things mean in the occult, or what those things mean on the dark side, I don't think they'll send their kids out dressed like that. I don't think they will take part in it. Now, some people. Go ahead.
I just had a comment on the holidays that we're speaking about here, and there's a purpose for the holidays and why these occult figures, powers that be or whatever, promote these holidays, and it's for the energies that they feed on for the people. And a lot of people say, well, there are a lot of people that give positive energy into the holidays. Yeah, but they don't think about the negative aspects, like Christmas. People get upset when they don't get what they want. There's a lot of negative energy going on in Christmas, and a lot of people don't show it, but the energy is there. The energy never lies, and that's what they feel.
That's right.
This energy.
That's right. And along with that, this is why in my book again I mentioned overcoming mental and spiritual manipulation through self-mastery under the will of God, because we are being manipulated and we are being fed upon. And like he just said, they want to inspire you, but with the wrong things, and therefore they can control your inspirations. Well,
Hello. Is everybody still there?
I'm here. Phone just kind of went dead for a second. I didn't hear nothing, but I still heard the music. So.
Okay. Is Sifu still
I'm not sure. I'm not hearing him.
Oh,
we got to get a disclaimer, man. We need to go ahead and do that, bro.
Yes. 1 second. Let me do that right quick.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, I saw Sifu Harris. He was back on, but I think he hung back up. Let's see if we can get him back on again.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views.
Hello.
Gary.
Hello.
Did your phone cut out on you?
Yeah, it probably did. How's the sound coming through?
It's coming through
good
now.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Actually, if you could turn it down maybe one notch, that'll be perfect.
Okay, let me just move my mic here. I got a boom mic here. How's that?
You sound nice. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
As Melchizedek just requested that we played a disclaimer.
Okay.
There was a show that recently just got cut off again. Basically, was terminated.
Wow.
Due to the subject matters they're speaking upon, of course. It was Hollywood Tony P's show, Mel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. What was he talking about?
He was basically talking about the 9/11 conspiracies and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And obviously...
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
And this is basically... Yes, this is basically the third person I know of who's got their show taken from them.
Yeah.
And what happens? They basically just totally delete you from the system, everything. So if you have archives of shows, I'm pretty sure they're all gone. And this guy had a real great show. You know, I just to put it out there for Blog Talk Radio, I'm not advocating what they were speaking of that night, and obviously the show isn't about that type of controversy. It's about enlightenment. But they were just speaking their mind, and their shows end up being cut off completely.
I will touch on that topic that you just said, or that phrases you just said. They delete the archives of this and that. The archives are still in there. Knowledge is every show that Knowledge ever did is still in the archives, and you can still.
Well, why is it when I go onto a site, it just says user? User does not exist.
Their site is shut down, but you can go into the main archives, like type into the search, because that's how I went back and downloaded all the rest of his shows, because
off of the feed, right?
Yep, off the feed.
Oh, wow.
Because you can play it, and you can download it from the play screen while it's playing.
Okay.
Well, my disclaimer for the show Paranormal 101, of course, we love Blog Talk Radio. We have no quarries with them. It's a great establishment for people like us that are trying to get information out, but I guess it has to be within guidelines. So, of course,
totally understandable.
Yes, and if you ever think of getting on that type of subject matter, Gary, I just say throw a disclaimer out there, just like what I did, and I think that'll usually save you most of the time.
Just to show you what they're picky about too. Is they were talking about the 9/11 quote-unquote conspiracy. Knowledge was reading the tablets of creation, Sumerian, and we also have another friend, Long. His show was actually, they reserved him for a religious show, which is not really a religious thing he's doing. So, like, they wouldn't give him a good slot, and they basically put him on a certain, like, we're in a paranormal bracket. They put him in a religious bracket when he was originally in a self-help bracket. So, like, they narrowed down where he had to be and what times he could be on and this and that. So you got to be real careful about what you're talking about.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like to throw out there that what I like to do is I'll share the information about the who, what, when, where's, and hows and whys, but the focus that I put on is in the individual, because ultimately is our choice. That's the power given to us at creation. It's choice. You know, we can avoid all these different things. You know, I think more importantly, what troubles me is not that these things exist and that they are controlling the world. What troubles me is how people view the world, that they have no idea. You know, it's like, I wish that people could know. More people could know. So.
We've been lucky. We've been lucky enough to have over maybe 10 shows, and we've never got contacted by Blog Talk. So I'm pretty sure we're on the path here. But once you get into those real controversial subjects, it really shows you how powerful it is. You know, when that amendment gets thrown out the door of free speech, what's to look at in the future. But let's back onto what we're speaking on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other show right there. But I like to get back on what we're talking about. Could you maybe is there any more things you might know about elves? Because I noticed you mentioned elves, and I never really thought there was any correlation with elves in these basic lies that are taught to us.
Okay. Well, what I've understood about elves and leprechauns and things like that is that whenever you see an anomaly like that, it's always got something to do with fallen angel interaction. It's always got something to do with it.
I gotta spit a comment right quick. When you talk about lies, you have to understand also that there is a truth in every lie, because if there is not a truth in every lie, people won't believe the lie. So that's why they build a house of lies on a foundation of truth. That's
right. They put the half-truths out there. Now, I think for your listeners, a good book for them to check out is by Philip Wilkinson. It's the Illustrated Dictionary of Mythology. All the heroes, heroines, gods and goddesses from around the world, or so-called gods and goddesses. But once you go through this book and put it into perspective of what we're talking about now, the lights are going to go off. You're going to start to really see on a deeper level. But yeah, the elves, from Irish folklore and all that stuff, and the fairies as well. What I've come to find out is that there is some type of connection between genetic manipulation and hybridization of the fallen angels with human beings. And if you look at the fairies, a fairy is nothing but a being of light. And I'm pretty sure people have talked about orbs and balls of light. And so it's the same thing. There's a connection. When these things were cast down to the earth, they went into all the corners of the earth, and they began to give themselves different names, pass themselves off as different things, from demigods to genies to leprechauns, because they had power. They had power, and human beings, like I said before, they were inspired by things that were more powerful than them.
Which actually correlates with another subject that we have for the show, the Watchers.
Yes. Well, you know what? Before we go into that, I wanted to mention a couple of other things about our holidays and our the things that we recognize. I look at Easter, right? Easter is the day that we Christians we recognize the death of and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, right? And that's his day. But now, again, just like Santa on Christmas, you have something sharing the scene. You have a bunny, and you have eggs. Now, according to history and how it happened, before the arrival of Jesus, the devil caused the fall of man, and he had control of all of the souls. Everyone's soul he had control of. And when Jesus came and completed the transaction, he lost, control of all of the souls. And he thus had to do it one by one. He thus had to, get permission from us somehow through deception, one by one. Now, here's a question. What does the soul represent? Or what represents the soul? Does anybody have an answer? The soul is a symbol of the symbol of the soul is the egg. And so here we go. We have Peter Cottontail going around either collecting eggs, right, or offering eggs. Either way, it's a counterfeit. He's saying, hey, Jesus is offering you a new soul, a new life, a new birth. Well, guess what? I have an egg for you. See, take this one. It's pretty. Or he's saying to the little kids, hey, help me collect the souls again. Help me hunt for the eggs. Either way, it's a counterfeit. Oh, yes. The deception runs very deep.
I never heard this analogy of the egg before.
This is one of the things that God has revealed to me. I do a lot of deep cross-referencing, and this is something that came upon me, and I just shook because I felt so bamboozled. I felt so just hoodwinked, if you will. And he's the father of all lies. Melchizedek, you were talking about lies before. Yes, he's the ultimate deceiver.
Yeah, and then what's that they say in the Bible about the devil? Nobody can quote the scripture better.
That's right, and nobody can distort it and counterfeit it better.
Yep.
Put
it all away. That's right.
And so, go ahead.
This really ties into another segue for on in the show, which was the Luciferian agenda. But I see Lucifer's hand in a lot of these pagan myths you're referring to. Is it a trend that you see that really runs deep within all these holy days?
Well, definitely. Let me tell you something. Okay, I mentioned about children before, right? Well, when my son came up to me after, and this was about 7 or 8 years ago, before I had this epiphany, I was telling him about the tooth fairy. And I really didn't feel a whole lot of attachment to it, but, you know, society says that, no, this is how you protect their innocence. You know, you allow them to experience these things. Let them be a kid. That's what they tell you, right?
Yes.
So I'm just following the law. And when my son said to me, so Dad, she's gonna come in my room? And I said, yeah. He said, how's she gonna get in? And then I knew where he was going, because he knew that, you know, nobody comes into Dad's house like that, and Dad's very protective. He knew that, so he couldn't connect the two. He couldn't connect it. And so at that point in time, I said to myself, I can't deceive my son anymore, because here's what's happening. I'm telling my son, hey, believe in Santa, believe in Santa. Hey, believe in the Tooth Fairy, believe in Frosty, believe in Rudolph. You know, you're getting them all stirred up. You're getting his emotions just going, juices flowing, pictures and movies and, you know, songs and just memories, right? And then at 12 or actually earlier than that, 8 or 9, you're saying, hey, all that was fake. Don't believe in that anymore. None of that was real. You never saw it, right? So yeah, none of it was real. Now, believe in God, who you never saw.
And you know what else? You know what?
So yeah,
whenever you when they do find out the truth, they're like, this person that I trusted all this time since I was a child has been lying to me this whole time. There's that negative energy again coming out, because the child's going to feel that he was deceived.
Yep, that's right. And so what we've just done is we provided a basis for doubt, a basis for a lack of faith. And this is man, Sun Tzu said it best, the basis of all war is deception. And we are in a spiritual war.
I will tell you right now, that little bitty book, The Art of War, is used in so many ways every day. When you're awake, when you're asleep, with your children in school, when they're at home watching TV, when you're out at the gas station riding down the road, when you're picking out groceries at the supermarket, every way you can think of. They use it. In our community,
that's right.
Divide and conquer. You know, my enemy is my friend. All the whole nine. So I mean, I think it's kind of important that people read that, peep the message, but use it for a good sense, for knowledge as a tool, instead of using it in a bad way to get over on somebody or to manipulate somebody, because that's what they're doing to us with it.
It's required reading. It's kind of like the song that you guys played last week, Nature of the Threat. You must realize the nature of the threat. We are in a war, and many people feel that the world is their own personal playground, and it's not.
Yeah.
And so,
but now, totally.
But now you were asking me about the Luciferian threat, the Luciferian agenda. Wow, a lot I can say about that, brother. Let's see, where do I begin?
Well, I think we might be able to tie this into the Watchers. Through your research of the Watchers, have you ever been able to correlate maybe Lucifer being a part of the Watchers?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you had different classification of angels, and they all had their different responsibilities. Lucifer being, you know, the archangel, so you know, obviously he influenced the 1/3 to rebel with him, and they were cast out. Yes, they were cast out to the earth. So they all are a part of his army, and they are the princes of the north and the princes of the east and the west and the south. They have their different corners of the earth that they handle, that they are in charge of, and they have different men on the earth that are in charge. And these men you probably never see, you know, but they are running things. They're running things, and that's the bottom line. And
like in the book of Enoch.
It's not the George Bushes, and it's not anything like that. Those are the fall guys. Those are the guys that make the fall. It's the people that pull their strings, those puppet masters. Those are the ones you'll never see them because they're too smart to be in the spotlight. They don't want to be seen.
That's right.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're laying low. Go ahead.
But on the topic of the Watchers, through your research of Enoch, what have you really came across? Because I always ask that perspective of all our listeners, because Enoch's work is real profound.
Well,
and,
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, what was your thoughts on Enoch and basically his role with the Watchers?
Well, what I've seen about Enoch is, you know, through reading the book and everything, they came together, the Watchers, and they decided, hey, you know what? Let's intervene in the affairs of men. Let's take wives, and this is what Enoch, the book of Enoch, is covering. And you know, some of them were doubtful. They were like, hey, you know what? You're not going to commit. If we get in trouble, some of you guys are going to just back out. And they said, no, let's make a pact with each other that we will see this thing through. And they did. And they had no idea about the wrath of God. They had never seen it. And so when the wrath of God came down, and it was just a terrible thing, they went to Enoch, and they're telling Enoch, pray to God for us. Tell him, please, that we're sorry. And God told Enoch to tell them that rather than have men pray for you, you should be praying for men, because they're the ones who have fallen. Now that you have fallen, without provocation, without deception, you've fallen of your own accord, you will never be forgiven. Man will be forgiven, but you will never be forgiven. And so this is why an angel cannot have grace. He cannot be redeemed, because they fell from grace without provocation. They had everything. They had power. They had everything.
And as the ancient text states, that they were basically banished from the heavens also.
They lost their place.
Yes, and that would be one indicator that they're not going to be coming back to those good realms. So that's almost proof saying that they were banished to our realms. So does that have any connection with no, the basic, you know how they speak of the manipulation that occurred of our DNA through the fallen angels? Does that automatically tie us into a Lucifer species, or a Luciferian species, since he was mainly the head honcho of the bunch?
Well, if you want to talk about hybridization, is that what you're speaking about?
Yes. But then when I'm tying it in with the Watchers, you know how the Watchers refers how the Watchers came down and they did their manipulation. I'm just wondering, was that under the call of Lucifer? Was that Lucifer's indoctrination on humanity?
You know what? I'm not sure. And as a matter of fact, I think the angels, all of them were tempted with the affairs of men at some point. I don't think many of them wanted to go that far. I think Lucifer was spreading venom around the heavenly realms, and some of them probably gained more and more confidence to go ahead and do this thing. And as you can see, you know, as I mentioned about how they were unsure at first, and they wanted to be sure that they would back each other up. And once they made that pact, they went ahead and did it. Now, they mentioned some of the names, like, you know, Azazel and Raziel and Semyaza. Semyaza, I'm thinking there's a correlation between him and Lucifer, but it doesn't really say that.
Well, isn't Azazel basically the most evil known archangel? Out of all archangels?
And there's a well, they say the leader was Semyaza, and so Azazel, they all had different how could I say it, different things that they contributed to the fall of man, and different things, that strengths that they had. Like, you know, one angel, I forgot his name, but I think it was Raziel or one of the others, but he taught women how to seduce mankind through, you know, perfumes and makeup. And so the book of Enoch lists all that and how they corrupted the earth. And so, but knowing which one is Lucifer, and it from what I've read, it really didn't say. I'm thinking that he was going by a different name. As it said through history, he's had many names.
I got several comments here. Have you all ever watched the movie Fallen, Denzel Washington?
Oh, yes.
That's a pretty good movie that kind of describes what we're talking about for the people out there. If they
Time is on my side.
And yeah, and there's a correlation that I've actually heard many people talk about, and I've done some research on, and it makes a whole lot of sense, you know. We speak about the Watchers. They watch over us and manipulate us throughout all of time, since time began or however long. Well, you can also make that correlation with extraterrestrials. What do they do?
Oh, yeah.
And like the Sumerians say, they came down and manipulated our DNA to get what they wanted, and they came from the heavens, you know.
Well, now what I believe is that, I believe that these stories of these angels came from the Sumerian work of the Anunnakis. It was just translated later on in the latter days into angels, but then you go into the ancient work, it's almost exactly like the Sumerians when they refer to the Anunnakis. So I hope people come,
because, I mean, angels have wings, you know. What do these aliens do? They fly around in spaceships, or they fly around in their Merkaba, or however, you know, it comes to pass. So, I mean, there's
well, you know what? Go ahead.
Well, from what I know, there was no way to depict this type of flight that they had, so the only way was to add things onto these figures in order to depict.
Well, let me interject something.
Yes.
Now you were saying about the correlation between Lucifer and the Watchers. Well, I can tell you this. You know, they call him Beelzebub, and Beelzebub means ruler of those who fly or flit. Yeah. And yes, so that puts it into a little bit of a better perspective, because if they were cast down, and if they were, like he was saying, using their Merkaba or what have you to move around, then I guess you can call that flitting or flying, just like the fairies and the pixies would with their little balls of light. And so he was the ruler of those who fly. And so, you know, whether it be by ship as well. You know, we see ancient cave paintings of you know, being in ships.
Fiery wheel. You know.
Exactly. Wheels with. And you know what? Let me tell you something. You know how it says a wheel within a wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do we know about time travel and the gyroscope and wheels within a wheel? Counter-rotating fields of energy.
Yeah.
That's talking about time travel.
Electromagnetic forces.
Wow.
Yes, sir. So it's all there in the Bible.
That's basically a way of depicting on how they actually travel, if you were to break it down scientifically.
Counter-rotating fields of energy.
Exactly. Magnetic though.
Go hand in hand. You know, a lot of these spaceships may not run on batteries and stuff. They may run on mind power, spirit power, you know.
Yes. And I'll take it a little further. We are all made up of counter-rotating fields of energy in atoms.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you look at the electron, what does it do?
And then, and as we know, everything has its polarity. So that's another key factor in order to create this canceling out effect we're referring to. And that basically, we could also point to the 0-point energy for those researchers out there that are into that. Have you ever done any research into the 0-point energy on basically tapping into the energy from outer space and stuff like that? That's how I believe that they travel.
Well, I've heard of it. I haven't really delved into that topic a whole lot, but I've definitely heard of the 0 point.
Yes, it's very fascinating. Very.
Well, it's an up and coming. It's not mainstream source of power yet, but it's kind of up and coming. There's only so long before they can't hold it back any longer from actually a whole lot of people understanding what it is. And
well, there's only so long before the oil runs out also, so that's probably going to be the main
all
factor.
The money they can off the oil, and what people don't realize is that money, it ain't made of nothing but cotton. It comes from blue jeans. They chop it up and make it into paper and put ink on it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
still, so.
And I believe in free energy and Tesla, but that's a whole other show. That's a whole other show.
Hey, Hey, I'm trying to tell you, Tesla is a deep subject right there. Nikola Tesla,
Yes.
he was on to something there, but the money-hungry people, they just couldn't get around that. You know, they want that power. You know, they want that the greed control. You know.
That's right.
Totally.
And I wanted to. I wanted to share something. Go ahead.
Oh, keep going.
No, I wanted to share something else about the, how could I say it, the interconnection of Lucifer with society and everything, and put it in perspective practically. You know, the National Board of Standards, it was renamed the NIST, and you know, back in, I think it was the 60s, they called for an encryption algorithm. And, you know, after that, IBM responded with something called Lucifer. And it was an encryption code. It was called the Lucifer code, and IBM came up with that. And it was adopted. Yes.
And not only that, you can make a connection there to Lucifer, meaning light bearer, as a lot of people have seen in the Zeitgeist movie or read in other
That's right.
They've done some research.
And luz in Spanish means light. So,
yes.
You know, Lucifer, there you go. And, you know, it was adopted in 1977 as the data encryption standard, and that's what we use today, you know, the binary, you know, 0101, all of that.
Oh, my God. So are you almost correlating this with the Internet?
Well,
It could be in a way.
Hey,
because
listen.
They use more than zeros and ones, but that's just the newer stuff they've come up with. And I'll break encryption down one more time for us, too. Okay, Sumerians, Babylonians. When you babble, you cover things up with too much talk.
That's right. Tower of Babel.
I mean, you gotta pay attention to what's going on. And what do we do with our internet? It's a tower. It's a stream that goes up to a satellite, comes back down to us, or runs through an Ethernet cable. We're building the Tower of Babel without people even.
All over again. My brother, you're on it. That's right.
Oh yeah, I've been for a long time, bro.
Hey, listen. Let me take it one step further with the Ethernet. You know, ether comes from the word ethereal, which means heavenly realms.
Yes.
So with the Ethernet and the Internet, we are connecting to the heavenly realms.
Yeah.
And
spirituality without people realizing it too. That's
right.
They have no idea.
Right under our noses. Wow.
Right on your noses. Let me tell you something. I want to tell you something about time travel. Wow.
Sifu,
yes.
Let me stop you right quick. Is there any more you could add on to that IBM thought you were just displaying right now? Because that blew me. I never knew that they created this encryption off of the name Lucifer. And we would also have to say that was during the beginning of what we know of computers now.
Yes.
So that encryption is basically definitely in the computers we use today. Still.
Yep. Let me find something for you.
Building blocks. You got to build them. The earlier edition.
Hold on, I'm going to read something to you. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah, we need a disclaimer right before he reads. I hate to cut you off.
Let me try to get one running right quick.
Yeah.
But that is fascinating. That connection to Lucifer, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Okay.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
We just had to spit that out there right quick, man. Sorry.
Hey, right on. Here's another book that your listeners can pick up. It's called Code Breakers, From Hieroglyphs to Hackers. It's by Simon Adams. And
I haven't read it, though.
Yeah, wow. It's okay. I'm going to read this to you. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up here. Let me find it. Okay. Yeah, okay. It says, says today, it says the power of Lucifer, basically. And it says today every government, army, and business uses computers of everything for everything from aiming missiles to conducting massive business deals. Millions of individuals give out credit card and other personal details over the internet to obtain CDs, books, etc., etc., etc. It says, let me get to the, okay. It says, since the 1960s, code makers have been inventing codes to make business communications safer. One of the most famous and the most secure is Lucifer. It says Lucifer is now the official standard encryption code in the U.S. It translates messages into binary digits and then shuffles those digits like a deck of cards. There you go.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, man. That's mind-boggling right there.
It's some deep stuff, you know. A lot of people don't realize this stuff.
It shook me when I heard it, and but here's another thing. This was developed by, and I'm gonna say the name at the end, but it was developed by Cambridge University and Haifa, Israel, and the University of Norway, and it was a code, an encryption code, and the name of the code is Serpent.
Oh, man. Oh, that is deep. Wow.
Yes, so
that's what I've been listening and basically digging for right there, and you basically let us know. So I totally appreciate that one. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Lucent Technologies.
Lucent Technologies, that's right. That's right. And it's all, you see the prefix, LUC? It's telling you, but, you know, it's you know, if you don't have a trained eye, it's hard to catch it.
You got to be able to see the symbolism and the subconscious that they're trying to reach without you realizing.
It's sigil magic. That's what it's called. And have your listeners, you guys can look that up. Sigil magic. SIGIL magic.
Yeah.
That'll tell you how they work.
Okay, great. Well, what were we getting at before I cut you off right there? Because that was really amazing. I needed to hear that because I haven't heard that before. But I think you were getting on, I think, the Luciferian agenda, I think you were getting at.
Well, basically, you know, you can see it throughout history. I mean, you know, there are different gods with different names. Like there was an Irish god named Lu. His name was L-U-G-H, Lu, and his the way you described him was the shining one, because he was bright, and his name was Lu, and he was an Irish god. And so, you know, that's part of mythology, but when you put it in perspective of what the Bible says and that these things were not just myths and made-up stories, that they actually had truth to them, then you say, wait a minute. This guy has had many different names throughout history, and he's been all over the place. I mean, what did he say in the book of Job when he went to present himself before God with the angels, and God said, "Where have you been?" And he says, "Walking to and fro in the earth and back and forth, just walking to and fro and back and forth for thousands and thousands and thousands of years." This is why when you brought up the movie Fallen, and he says time is on my side, I mean, that's all he's had is time.
Yeah.
Just to manipulate mankind.
And not only that, but it's just to let some people know this is just to plant a seed, and this is just so you can do your own research and make your own assimilation on the topic. And what I'm going to say is we are a lot older than what his story tells us.
His story.
Children go
Amen.
to school because all they do is write a different story every time something collapses. The last time it collapses, the same people were on top. And those people just created another story, another chapter in the story, and built back up from there. They keep us as slaves every time.
Totally right.
Before the
totally
end,
right.
And before they start again, they shut everything down, and then they go, like you said, they walk to and fro and in and out of the earth. That'll tell you something right there. How do they survive these cataclysms? How do they survive these, like the Sumerian tablets say, it sounds like a nuclear holocaust. They're bunkers in the ground. They're inner earth.
That's right.
To
That's right.
and fro, in and out of the earth for thousands.
That's right.
Like Sifu just said.
Well, they also mention the basic story of what we know of as Armageddon in the old Sumerian text, where they were talking about the angels firing off basically nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So could that be true? You know, they found glass 70 feet underneath the Egyptian sand. So you know, there's
not just glass, but
exactly.
it's glass that is caused by certain temperatures and certain fusions happening.
Crystallization.
Yes.
You're talking Fahrenheit over 2,000, 3,000 degrees in order to do what they did.
Of the glass. Not
totally
spots, but fields of it. And if you also look at the globe and look at the impacts of, they say, craters in science, you will look at, and you can see like there was a war going off between certain places, bombs going off. And if you look at one place that has not had one strike of a crater, meteor, whatever science supposed to call it, that's Greenland. There's not one on that whole space of land. But everywhere else, it's like they were bombing main cities.
Yeah, we could tie this into the last conversation when you brought up Baalbek, Sifu.
Yeah, the ruins.
You know, what's the use of these ancient landing strips and stuff like that? So there is there's so much proof out there that we have to find.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna share something biblical, and it's in Book of Ezekiel, and you know it's talking about how you know the devil. It's in Ezekiel 28, and God is talking to Lucifer, and he's telling him that he was the most beautiful of all of his creation, and that you know he was in the Garden of Eden, but he sinned, and he said he cast him down, and he says, "You walked amongst the fiery stones, but I cast you down, O guardian cherub." And so I think I mentioned this a little bit before, and how if you cross-reference the word fiery stone that's mentioned in the Bible, you'll find out that the fiery stone was actually a planet. So God is talking to Lucifer, and he's telling him that you walked amongst the planets. You were in charge of the planetary systems, but I cast you down. And so when you look at Mars, then it comes into a little bit more of a clearer focus what was happening on Mars. There was a cataclysm on Mars, actually. There wasn't just, meteors. There was something purposefully happening. You look at Cydonia, and it's unmistakable. You know those are pyramids. You know that's a face. And the face looks like, what was going on in Egypt with the Sphinx. And so, it's just a lot of study. It's a lot of information to swallow at once when you've been told something totally opposite all your life.
Yeah.
Sifu, have you heard of the what was that?
I was going to say, I listened to a Coast to Coast AM show the other day. I think it was the 20th of this past month, and they had Richard C. Hoagland on there, and he was talking about the discoveries that they're making on Mars with the pictures they're sending back in the rovers, or this and that and this and that. And
you saw that?
Explaining how the pyramids were made of glass. When the light shined on them, the prisms were coming out of those pyramids near the face. Just something that I've heard. I thought I'd throw in there since we were talking about Cydonia and stuff. So.
No, I heard about that as well. Something that I saw that was kind of freaky. It's a picture from NASA, and it looks like a humanoid creature. Humanoid
the one
person.
that they're saying that it looks like a Sasquatch.
Yeah, it's like you can see the person perched up on the rock. At the edge of the rock, and that's not, a rock formation with the arm and all of that. I mean, that's
exactly.
It makes you wonder. But like I said, we've been fed this meal of we're the only ones, all our life. And when we start to have these conversations, people look at you incredulously, like it's not true. But the facts are there. History's there. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just saying they're playing, indoctrination, from seeds they start, so. people that they hope people won't have conversations like this so they can keep doing what they're doing without any fault.
Right,
when
right.
people find out, we need to watch out. Preparedness is awareness. Be prepared for anything, because we're going to need to start over again sometime, maybe.
Right. And, you know, this is why I wrote my book. You know, it's I don't want to, I mean, we can have the conversations, but my main focus is to tell people, hey, you have the power of choice given to you at creation. You know, choice was coveted by the devil. You know, that's his argument with God, that we don't have freedom of choice. Well, God sent Jesus.
Oh, go ahead.
No, God sent Jesus to prove that, hey, we do have freedom of choice, and we can choose to control our own path. We don't have to, you know, worry about what the powers that be are doing. They running this thing. They have the power. There's nothing I can do to stop them, nor do I want to. God, God is going to do that. But I control me. That's the thing.
Yeah, a lot of people will ask the question, well, why do they want to control us? It's because of how powerful our spirits are, and they try to keep that secret from us. And that's part of my mission, actually, is to help people realize what's going on with you. Look inside. Don't look outside for the answers. You can look outside, but the search is going to take so much longer for something that's the truth already inside you.
Indeed.
Spirit's not going to lie to you.
That's right. You're right. You're exactly right.
Hey, man, I got a question for you. It's kind of off topic, man, but are you a Gnostic Christian or are you a Christian? Have you read, the Tablets of Emmanuel? Have you delved into that at all?
No, not Emmanuel. No, I haven't. But I've kind of been all over the map, though.
Yeah, have you read the Gospel according to Thomas and all of these, the canons that they left out of the Bible that people of the King James Version, quote unquote,
Well, I tell you what, I have Jasher, I have Barnabas, I have Enoch, but I really haven't gone into the ones that some of the other books that they left out, because I feel more comfortable with just going to the Bible, finding the phrase, and cross-referencing it to death, to the nth degree. And once I do that, let me tell you, once I take a phrase like fiery stone, it leads me to so much. It leads me to Thomas. It leads me to Jasher or Enoch. But that's pretty much how I do it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of ancient biblical scholars.
A lot of ways to do it, though.
Yeah. There's a lot of ancient biblical scholars that would say everything we are saying tonight is totally incorrect, like the use of Lucifer and Satan, because
they will also tell you that a priest is closer to God than you are, which is a total lie also.
Yeah.
Well, I'm referring strictly to the Hebrews. And the Hebrews, they take it a lot deeper by using the oldest ancient Hebrew, which was terms like Hallel,
right,
and Hallel ben Shahar or something like that. I guess that was the actual what the Hebrews consider the actual name of Lucifer. So there's a lot of
light, isn't it?
Exactly, but you see, these are what the biblical scholars will get at us by us using incorrect names. Is all I wanted to throw out there. But there's so many different names you can use. It really doesn't matter. But when I'm referring to the biblical scholars, they'll tell you, oh, you're incorrect with the words you're using, this and that. So I just wanted to throw that out there for the biblical scholars that are thinking we don't know what we're talking about here.
well, you know what? The thing is, what I would say to the biblical scholars, I would, I consider myself one, but what I would encourage them to do is to look throughout history, because you'll find words like Legba and Scratch and all these different names, and they're not in the Bible, but they provide you a strong foundation for understanding who he has been throughout history.
Mm-hmm. Yes, totally. Well, I wanted to get in a quick break. We're at the hour mark. Can you hold on for a quick break, Sifu?
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Okay, we're going to get into a quick few-minute break for the listeners. You go use the restroom and get yourself a drink. We're going to get right back into these topics with Sifu Gary Jones Harris and get into his book, Harnessing the Power Within and Out. And these other topics we have listed on the board, so stay tuned.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
Okay.
Well, I guess I could start off by saying, I kind of lean toward hanging on to, the Bible and the Word, not for religious purposes, but because of what I see prophetically, historically, civilization-wise, people, places, and events. It's undeniable, and so it's my main reference guide. But as far as the myths, I like to start by saying when we think of the word myth, most people turn off their brains. You don't really research it any further because myth means lie or myth means fairy tale, I think I mentioned before. And there's a word, mythos, which is synonymous with history. It doesn't mean lie. And so, the more people begin to become aware, the more they're going to start seeing these things on television and commercials everywhere. They're just going to start seeing it. And one of the major ways that you can see it is if you were to peel back the layers of our holidays. I'm pretty sure many people out there have wondered about the origin of some of the things, like Santa Claus.
Well, that sounds like a perfect one to start off with. I know a few things, and to be honest, I do not advocate Santa Claus or teach that within my own family. So, what's your thinkings and ideas on that one?
Well, I'll tell you. If you mention Santa as anything other than a jolly, benevolent, chubby man, it's going to cause a lot of issues with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are passionate about that. And I mentioned this in my book about how that's what they want. They want to steal your passions. And so when you look at Santa, if you scramble the letters Santa, you get Satan. Now that could be coincidental. You could say that's coincidental. You could also say it's coincidental that he's wearing a red suit. That's coincidental.
But then we all know there's no coincidences. So
exactly, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Now, as far as his little helpers, if you look up the word elf, you get mischievous creature. So now, why does Santa need mischievous creatures to help him build toys for little kids? And so, if you look a little further, I know there are many people that subscribe to the pagan religion, and that's fine. That's their choice, But the pagans used to call the devil Old Nick. Well, what do we call Santa? Old Nicholas, jolly old Saint Nick. And so that could be a coincidence, but maybe not. And it goes a little further. In Scandinavia, there was a ritual with the Scandinavians in which they would build an altar and they would put a chim on top of their roof. Now this is years before America. They put a chim. We call it today a chimney. And
this
so
is actually years before Christianity too. If you look at the word holiday, you can break it down into holy day. And
yes.
Christian holidays actually go a lot further back than
Exactly.
And these are really just pagan holidays, correct?
Right, and this is where if you look in the Old Testament, there's a lot of controversy about the Old Testament and why God would say, do not intermingle, do not intermarry, do not take their gods, don't intermingle with the pagans and stuff like that. There's a reason for it, and it's if people are willing to embrace the truth or not. That's the bottom line. The truth, it hurts, it's difficult to embrace, but the truth is the truth. And so Well, back on topic, as far as the Chim, they would have a sacrifice, a goat or whatever, and they would sacrifice to a god that rode through the air on a sled, pulled by two goats named Gnasher and Crasher. Prancer, Dancer, Dasher, Donner. Does that sound familiar?
Wow.
So yes. So now it starts to come into focus a little bit more, and then when you consider who was riding on the sled, it was the god Thor. Now, when I was young, Thor was a superhero with the Super Friends. Now, further study shows that Thor was in league with the devil himself. And so now, if you also look further, you'll see that Thor is also the god of the Vikings. And they wore the horns, and they rode in what? Dragon ships.
Yeah.
Who's the dragon? And so all of this,
so
comes.
basically, we're pointing to, that these ancient Scandinavians were truly pagan idols, and they really praise these things.
Yes. I mean, they really.
I did not know that. I thought they were just almost non-denomination. They were just Viking pirates. I didn't know that they actually had beliefs like that.
Respectfully, for what we're talking about and what you're saying, Odin was the god and Thor was the son of Odin.
Okay.
Similar to the Jesus and God story. People, Christians, they say Jesus was the son of God. Thor was the son of Odin. Just out of my research, that's what I've gotten.
Well,
no, that's true.
Odin,
exactly right.
Isn't Odin part of Greek mythology also?
Yeah, yes it is. But now, let me
correct on that.
Poseidon
was
in
okay.
And Zeus was in Roman.
There we
now,
go.
If I may add a little something about the Odin Thor thing, that's exactly right. But now, if you the further you check and start cross-referencing, you'll see there's a connection between Thor and the devil. And this is why, the horns, and the Vikings had the horns, and then they rode around in the dragon ships. There's a connection.
Wow.
Yeah, and so...
This is honestly I've slept on, guys, so I'm really fascinated right now. Please keep going on.
No, and there's more. As far as, the little kids, this is what the focus is. The focus is on little kids.
Hello, guys. Are you there?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I don't know what happened.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, something happened there. Were you guys cut off also and had to recall, or were you still on the line?
I didn't know what was going on, so I just kept quiet. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, me either. I was still on the line. I didn't say anything either.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. It looked like we had a little technical difficulties there, but at least we're back online, and we're back online with Seafood Gary Jones Harris. Sorry for the inconvenience, people. We're back on, and we definitely wanted to get back into the subjects we had for Sifu tonight. We talked about the ancient myths and the Watchers, the Luciferian agenda. Maybe we can get onto this other topic I had up, which was biblical prophecies. I'm pretty sure you've dug into that and have a nice load of info on that you can share with us.
well, we've touched on a few things. When I mentioned the fiery stones and Ezekiel and the wheel within a wheel and the concept of counter-rotating fields of energy. But then there's the Revelation, which is the
there we go.
I guess you could, that's a book of bewilderment for many. When we're talking about beasts rising out of the sea, and 7 horns and crowns and all of these different things. I guess the best thing would be to do is for you to ask me a question or something, and then we can go from there.
Well, on what you just mentioned,
it's a broad topic, but you want me to bring something up?
Yeah, well, on what basically we could go off what you just mentioned. Do you think those were truly just metaphors or literal topics to be taken in a literal sense?
Well, prophet literally beats messenger. It does. I mean, like Edgar Casey prophet telling the future is kind of different from what prophet meant then. Prophet was messenger, somebody preaching a good message and telling you, just had knowledge, and was able to use it, trying to spread that knowledge.
Well, of course, we're going off the layman's term here, and everybody knows prophecy as something that was prophetically spoken, something on the lines of Nostradamus.
Well, I can tell you this, to put it in perspective for the listeners. In ancient times, the Hebrew scribes and others like them, when they were trying to describe prophetic events, they wrote in a type of script called apocalyptic script.
Yep.
And with apocalyptic script, they would use imagery to describe things that were going to happen in the future. For example, a beast rising out of the sea would be a nation coming to power, and then a horn would be a kingdom rising out of that nation, and then a crown would be a king. And so when you read Revelation, that's exactly what it's talking about. That portion of it is talking about kingdoms, kings, rulers, and nations. And so it's talking about what they're going to be used for, who they're going to be led by, talking about, that they were given power by the dragon. The red dragon gives the 7-headed dragon his power and his throne on earth. And, it's controversial, it's hard to swallow, but the Bible is pretty clear about where that is and where that began.
Well, when we speak on Freemason, that's a pretty broad subject, and a lot of people, whenever you say the word Freemason, they assume Illuminati. All Freemasons are these people trying to deceive and this and that. I come from, I guess I should say, a long line of freedom fighter Freemasons, which use the knowledge for a good thing and not to deceive. And I kind of try to draw that line for people that not all Freemasons are these people that are deceiving and basically running humanity into the ground. It's not like that. There's a lot of Freemasons actually that are in it for the banker and business relations. They can make more money. They have no clue about the symbology and
there's some very positive Masons out there.
They are
of course,
guys for actually what's going on behind the scenes, the puppet masters.
Exactly.
Powers that be. I have to say that since Freemasons was brought up.
Oh, I was just wondering how we got on that topic.
You said Freemasons.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't even mention them. No.
Oh, I could have sworn that was said that.
No, I'm dead serious. I didn't mention that phrase.
Yeah, I didn't hear him mention it either, but maybe your phone got clicked.
Well, maybe he said something that referred, because you were talking about the kings and and the leaders of
rising to power.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I heard something different here.
No, I never mentioned.
No problem.
But now since there's a lot to be said about that. I mean, yeah, there are many people that are involved that have no idea. But then, you know, the agenda is there, and you know, I leave that particular subject up to the person who's on the quest. They must uncover the stones, and you know, you can't give it all out. You know, certain things I just, you know,
We just plant the seeds on this show. It's up to the person
Yeah.
to do their own research and to either let it wilt and die or to let it grow and flower and bloom. So.
But I will say this though, you know, we all know what the basis of it is. It's the building blocks of civilization, infrastructure, economy, stuff like that. And before, in the Garden of Eden, there was no need for that. There was none of that. There was no capitalism. There was no economy. There was no infrastructure. There was none of that. It was just, you know, man living in harmony with nature and man receiving from nature what he needed to thrive, which was, you know, food, shelter, and air, basically. And, you know, that's what trees provided us. They provided us, you know, shelter. They provided us with food, and they release oxygen and breathe in carbon dioxide, and, you know, we vice versa. So that's the balance that was intended. Yeah. But now what we're doing is we're cutting down nature in the name of infrastructure and economy and, you know, the building blocks of quote-unquote civilization. And so
well, there are alternative means, but these people obviously know what they're doing. They intend on shutting down the planet because they know it correlates with our energies. Our energies correlate with everything on the planet. Our spirit.
Exactly.
The planet has
exactly.
spirit, the planet has chakras just like we do, and it all comes together. When we destroy our planet, they know it makes us weaker in a sense, not weaker period, but in a sense. It kind of works the same way with us. Without a lot of people,
right?
There are alternatives to that. Now, I want to say, quote unquote, this is just my point of view on this subject, but it is when it comes to cutting down trees and forests and natural things, there's always the alternative of industrial hemp, which can be used for all of these things. And we could plant it ourselves and be self-sustaining, and it's a weed, it grows anywhere, you know, but they don't want to look that way about it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Because there's a thin line between use and abuse. Obviously, some people would abuse that, and then some people would use that for a good thing. So I just had to spit that out there, my personal point of view. P knows how I am.
Yeah.
Right on, right on. But you know, along with that, if you look at it like this, we mentioned the Tower of Babel and what the modern-day Tower of Babel is in the Internet. And we know that the fallen angels were cast down to the earth, and so naturally they're going to use mankind to try to return to heaven, as the Bible talks about, using the tower to do so. Now, the tower, I've read a little bit about it, you know, some dissertations on it, what it looked like and stuff like that. If this was an actual tower, which I, you know, have no reason to doubt that it was, then there had to be some knowledge. There had to be some knowledge of building blocks in infrastructure and how to do things. There had to be some knowledge that was passed down to man. Man didn't just get this by himself. So who did he get it from? He got it from the fallen angels. And so you know, the knowledge is still being passed on. It's the knowledge of this society, and it's being passed on. You know, the ruler of this earth, of this world, is, you know who? He's the ruler of it. So God is the owner, but he's the ruler for a short time.
And, another comment here is I don't know if people have ever delved into the book, the Urantia book. I don't promote this book at all, but it's an interesting point of view of people, and it's actually sort of a religion that people actually follow this structure of belief. And like I said, I don't condone it. I do my research on everything I can, because without one end of the spectrum of knowledge, you can't have the other, and you can't know fully what you're talking about without both spectrums. So
well, you know what? Along with that, and that's a good point you put out. You know that you know you don't promote it, but I would encourage everyone in their quest to make sure that they have a strong foundation. You know, in my view, a strong foundation of the Word, because the Bible, because that gives you a basis so that you don't drift too far out. You know how to filter things through. You know how to have that discerning spirit, because there's a lot of deceptive philosophy out there, and so. But like I said, it's like this. When you're going on that quest, I mean, you're gonna have to dig, and you're gonna have to get dirty. You can stay on the milk and still be saved. You can stay on the milk and be saved, but it'll be a struggle because you'll be vulnerable to being deceived. So, in order to build that protective covering around you, you're gonna have to get your hands dirty so that you can be able to see through the deception. And
on the topic of the Tower of Babel, I've really studied into that. If I'm correct, wasn't that during the time of the deluge?
Yeah.
Basically.
Go ahead.
during the Great Flood, and I think one of the terminologies I read was that it had to do with the Tower of Babel. I'm just trying to find the truth behind it, but said something that in the effect that when the Creator brought the deluge or the flood, he also what it states, I think he confused the language.
Yes.
Basically,
that's why it was called Babel, because they began to speak in different languages and they didn't even understand each other. But now let me mention something about that.
So if I'm correct, that was during the time of the building Tower of Babel.
Yeah, that was in the early portion of the Book of Genesis.
Great. Okay, I'm on it then. It's so fascinating. There's so much just in that whole era of the Tower of Babel. Could you maybe expound on what was going on during the time? What created this tower to be taken down and whatnot?
Well, it's like this. It's God had His intent for the earth. He had His intent. He had man, and He created him in a perfect relationship with him, and it was corrupted. And so when it was corrupted, Lucifer and his angels, his rebel angels, began their assault on on heaven. And of course they lost, but what they're trying to do is bring mankind and use mankind to do their bidding on earth, so that they can launch an attack to heaven. And so that's where the Tower of Babel came in at. They were trying to regain their place, and that's why it was a tower. And then
also been seen in more than just the Nebuchadnezzar story, but also Jacob's ladder. He saw the angels
descending
on the ladder.
That's right. And you know what?
So you think that ladder was the Tower of Babel?
No, I think that ladder is somewhat of a space bridge. I think it's something like
a gateway or like a portal.
Yes, that's what I think it is. And
does it actually mention the area that occurred? Because I'm pretty sure if people did the proper testing, they could figure out if there is some type of interdimensional portal there.
Well, you talking about the Tower of Babel? Where was it?
No, the actual place that
when he saw the angels descending.
Yes, in the Jacob's ladder.
Well,
does it actually refer to where it actually occurred?
Not in my recollection, but I mean, it can. Do you know, Mel?
I've done a little bit of research into it, and I've found several different things. One avenue of research took me to a place of, it was describing the chakras. And when you climb the ladder of your chakras, like Pete talks about the light beings and the Merkaba flying around in their light ship. You see what I'm saying? It kind of takes you to that point.
But you would have to say through your research that it would have to have been Jerusalem.
Well, it would be your temple, your body, because you would be climbing your chakras. There was a certain amount of rungs in the ladder. And whenever the angels ascended and descended, you would climb the chakras in your body, then you would be able to ascend into the heavens.
There we go. Okay. It's just another tale of ascension then.
That's just an avenue that I did some research into, and that's one avenue that it took me down. And
well, that helped me a lot. So good looking out on that.
Well, I'm not
saying
that's the truth.
You know what? Go ahead.
What was that, people?
No, I was going to say, I would encourage all, as they listen to us and they gain the knowledge, I would encourage all to try not to delve into, this is just my encouragement, not to delve into too much of the magic and the Kabbalistic or occultic, areas of life, because what it does is it opens you up, because, this is what happened in the Garden of Eden. This is the secret knowledge. This is the knowledge of good and evil. This is the knowledge that God didn't want us to know about, because it exposes us. It opens us up. It opens
so you're
us
not
up
really
to things.
feeling the chakras and things in that.
Oh no, I mean I know about the chakras, and I agree with Mel. No, what I'm saying is, some people may listen and say, oh well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get into transcendental meditation, and I'm gonna just try to, become my own little God, and what I'm encouraging them.
We get to this section with a lot of our guests that we have on the show, and that's the point in the fact that if you don't know what you're doing, channeling can be a bad thing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you open yourself up to things like that, you never know what you're going to get, what kind of spirit is going to try and reach out and touch you, or you're going to try and reach out and touch. I suggest, just my personal point of view and perspective, you follow that piece of the Creator Spirit, that piece of God that's within you, inside that temple right there, because that one's not going to lead you wrong. But another spirit,
right.
You never know what they're going to do, what they're going to tell you, how they're going to deceive you. They may lead you down the right path, but they might not. They may want something from you in return, like the genie
so
at the bottom.
That's a disclaimer, basically stating that Kabbalah can be good and it can be bad if it's used in the wrong context.
Well, you have
there's
a lot of people that get on the channel and thing, and then they end up they get all screwed around and they don't know what they're doing because somebody teaches you $2,000 a class. You can do this.
Exactly.
You got to be careful.
And the important thing is that they must understand why those things were put into practice in the beginning. The reason why God used the magic of the Ark of the Covenant and the different miracles that He did back in the Old Testament was so that they would know that He is God Almighty. Because you had, fallen angels around saying, "I'm a God, I'm a God, I'm a God," and so God had to actually show that, hey, look, I am Almighty. He said it so many times in Isaiah and so many times throughout the Old Testament that, look, I am the one true God.
Yeah, what's so profound about that is the true Creator Spirit, God, whatever label, if you decide to label this, does not even have to tell you this. If there is an entity telling you that I am God, obviously that entity was created by God or the true Creator Spirit, because He wouldn't have to tell you that. When you're in the presence of the true Creator God, it would be a feeling that you have. It wouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to be told. In other words, there's no language, I don't think, that takes place. It's the feeling. And if something tells you that it's God, it's not the true Creator Spirit. It was created also, just like you were created.
Well, I can tell you, I can share from my perspective is like right now, if someone were to come up to me and say, or if something were to come to me and say, I'm God, I wouldn't believe it. Because from what I understand about the Word, He doesn't come to you like that. Because, an angel, fallen angel can come to you like that, you see. But what was happening is, in the Old Testament, you had the fallen angels going around saying that, I'm God. And so now God had to actually come down and show His glory and establish that He was the Almighty. He had to actually reestablish that. And so, and then with when Jesus came, He was trying to establish the kingdom, and He was doing miracles again. But those miracles were only so that people would believe. They would not believe if He didn't do a miracle. And there's a scripture in Corinthians that says, that when that which is perfect comes, all the imperfect disappears. And over again in the Word it says that my word is perfect. My word is perfect. That's what he's saying. So now that you have the Bible, you have the Word, you don't need to hear someone say, thus saith the Lord, go to, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to do that. You don't even need to listen to it because they could be lying. When you read the Bible, it tells you everything you need to know, past, present, and future. And so that's what I would encourage people to do, to just, those who are Christians, to stick to the Word and branch out, definitely branch out. Learn about the Kabbalah, of course. Learn about, the different levels of prayer, and but just use that the Bible as a basis, as a guide, because it contains everything.
So you're referring to the Old and the New Testaments? You refer to the Bible?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Old and the New, and that's the thing. I think if people could just get off of the religious perspective of the Bible and to see it as, wow, that's history, then they'll be more apt to listen and read more. But when they just
listen to the message, the message is what's really important. It's not really the person that's speaking it; it's the message and the story. That's what they're trying to point to. And a lot of people they miss that. They want to dress up nice and go to church and show off.
Exactly.
After they get out of church, they go get their 40 or they go eat a whole bunch of food and don't do nothing the rest of the day. And
That's
they
right.
give all their money to the donation. So not all of them, but a lot of them, they build these $1 million and $1 million churches when they could actually be taking that money and housing the poor or feeding the poor, clothing the poor, actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's why I say that a priest is not closer to God than you are. There's some deception going there. The message is what's really important. Not what the person is telling you is important. It's the message that's important.
And you know what? You use the name Melchizedek, and I would like to tell the people that that's a very, very profound name, because the Melchizedek is a line of priests that were used in the Bible, and the Bible talks about how Jesus was the last Melchizedek, and how we don't need a priest anymore. We don't need someone to intercede for us anymore. We don't need for someone to say, bless me, or talk to God for me. We have a direct line to God now.
Yeah.
And so
that's they made the connection.
Yeah.
Wow.
I used the title. I've spit it many times before. I've gotten, a lot of hate mail and stuff because of it, if you will. But,
no, it's just a moniker. I mean, I understand. But some people take it too seriously.
Yeah, well, I use it because it kind of describes me. That's what I do for people. You know what I'm saying? So if people don't like it, then they don't like it. And it's not up to me to please everybody. I try to help, but that's all I can do is try.
Like you said, hey, it's the message, and you have a good message, and that's what's important. Exactly. But I'd like to ask you a question, guys. See if you guys can get it. What's 555 feet high and 111 feet deep? And if you can get it, this will tell you exactly what the agenda is. It'll be clear.
What was the depth again, you said?
555 feet high and 111 feet deep.
That is the question right there.
Yeah,
and it's in the United States somewhere.
Ooh, that one got me.
It's a well-known place or icon or.
Again?
Huh?
Say those dimensions just one more time.
555 feet high and 111 feet deep. Are you gonna Google it? Huh?
I was about to. I'm a little astounded on that one. Black Angel said the Stone Mountain.
No, this is a man-made object.
Wow. And 1,100, would you say
111 feet deep.
111 feet deep.
And 555 feet high.
Sounds like a naval ship.
Oh no, it's a fixed object. It's
fixed object.
Uh-oh.
Well, let's take this caller and see if they might know. 580. You're on the air today. Could you give us your name and where you're coming from?
This is Stacy Hill. I'm the president and founder of SWOGC, Southwest Oklahoma Ghost Chasers, and I'm calling from Oklahoma. And to change the subject, I have a question regarding 2012. I've seen that posted up there on show description and everything. Is that going by the Mayan calendar?
Yes.
On the date 2012?
Uh-huh.
Well,
Okay.
there's a few different depictions of 2012 if you really look into it, besides the Mayans. So
Oh, yeah, you have the Egyptians, you have the Chinese.
Yes.
You have the Hopi Indians.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, because the calendar we go by is a few years off. I was watching a deal on the History Channel about that, and I figured it up. I think it would put us at, like, 2009. It would actually be our 2012 going by the calendar we use today. You know, I'm a medium and everything, and I deal with a lot of mediums, and not to say that all mediums are pagans, but a lot of the pagans are, you know, it's coming up that, you know, everything's going to end probably in the next year, that civilization as we know it is going to come to an end.
Well,
God bless those pagans.
Year, and it's not 2012.
You know, there's all different kinds of ways it can be taken. 2012 can be. I mean, it could be a spiritual change within everybody. It could be an earth change.
That's right.
It could be numerology also.
Well, you know, there's a map called out there. It's called the Earth Change Map, and it shows how, you know, they just had a massive earthquake on the Mississippi Valley River, and it shows that East Coast and the Mississippi spreading out, and here they were talking about possibly another major earthquake, you know,
well,
and a lot of psychics, I know that.
Well,
one of the biggest fault lines in the world is right here. It runs through Kentucky and the East Coast, and I can't even remember the last time it went off. Like, it hasn't gone off for hundreds of years, maybe thousands.
Right.
It's not like the San Andreas that goes off every couple of years or whatever. But it is,
right.
It's not the biggest. It's maybe the second biggest. It's one of the biggest in the world, and it hasn't gone off yet.
Well, you know, I live in Oklahoma, and I'm probably about 30 minutes from the oldest mountain range in North America, and we have a fault line, and we've actually had earthquakes here, and, you know, we've all been on edge. You know, you think Oklahoma, you don't think earthquakes. And, you know, we've been on edge. I know I've been losing a lot of sleep because I feel something's coming. And
well, Sifu, what's your take on the 2012? Because we definitely wanted to get into that with you.
Okay.
I think.
Well, huh? Hello?
No. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Let him get this out real quick.
Okay. No. Well, you have a group of how can I say it? Cultures that have a take on this. Like, you know, you have the Mayans, you have the Hopis, you have the Egyptians, you have the Chinese.
Yeah.
The Egyptians say that it's the return of Osiris. It's the return of the snake god. And you know, so if that were the case, and you know, we've already went into the implications of the snake, the dragon, Lucifer, the devil, all of that stuff. And we know that there's supposed to be an end-time deception. There's an end-time deception that's going to go on where, you know, the devil is going to make us think it's the end of the world. And then he's going to rise up and make it all better. And that's the Antichrist. So
Right.
it's a possibility. It's a possibility that it may not have anything to do with God. It may have some, you know, all to do with, something that he's doing. He's supposed to be released after 1,000 years. So could this be?
His, prison.
Well,
Yeah.
we really don't know due to the fact that the calendars have been changed, and they added July and August due to Julius and Augustus Caesar and everything.
Yeah.
Those were really not calendars, and at one time they went on a 13-month calendar, and now we go on a 12-month calendar, and so we really don't know. But
yeah. What's your name again, caller?
If you think about it,
what's your name again, caller?
Stacy Hill.
Stacy.
I'm with Oklahoma Ghost Chasers.
Okay, Stacy. Your date you put out there is pretty on because we also have to remember that the Mayan calendar was only 360 days. So you would have to minus a lot of days off the 365 we currently live by in order to get the correct date. And I've heard dates of 2006. So you're pretty much on the line there. Did you get that from your intuitive nature, or where did you pick that number up?
I stay a lot on the Learning Channel and the History Channel, and when they show things like that, I'm definitely watching that, and I stay up on stuff like that. I like to read about that, and like I said, there's a world change map, and I don't remember the website. And it shows, a major earthquake in the Mississippi Valley down the river, and it spreads the Mississippi even like triple the width. And California, Arizona becomes oceanfront property and everything else. And some major psychics have seen this.
Yeah, I do have to say something about these channels that people watch on TV and what they listen to and the knowledge.
Read my mind.
All the newspapers, all the TV channels, all the radio stations are
owned by
the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations. They dictate
to
the entire world what they want them to know.
Disclaimer.
So you
disclaimer.
You have to pick out the truth.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views.
Yeah. There are some truths, but you have to pick out the truths because they'll leave a lot of stuff out or they'll throw something else in. And another point is there's a realization going on that we can use our energies, our vibrations, our spirits that people are coming to a sense of to actually shape your life. And the powers that be know this is happening, and if they put this negative stuff in your face all the time, on the news, on the news, in the newspapers, they essentially control what they're trying to anyway by their propaganda. How the future's going to turn out. So
and this is, you know what? Hey,
right.
Hey, this is what I talk about in my book. I talk about positive and godly knowledge. Retraining the mind so that you can, retrain your feelings, and then your feelings. You'll produce the right actions in your life.
Yes.
And it's a process.
That's true. You are absolutely positive about that. I mean, negativity breeds negativity. Yeah. Positive breeds positive. You're absolutely right.
You can put it in terms of karma. You can put it in terms of knowledge. You can put it in terms of good and evil, the yin-yang, however you want to correlate it. It can be put in those terms because what you put in is what you get out. These
Indeed.
know this. And they're trying to control the future. We have to open people's minds. We have to plant these seeds,
Well, Stacy, being a medium, I'm sure you use your inner tuition all the time. So that's what we advocate here. I try to block
it due to the fact that I'm an empath, and I pick up a lot of people's emotions and feelings. So I try to block it.
Okay.
But I do use it when we do investigations sometimes. I'm being the president and founder, I'm not the lead investigator. I actually have a psychic that is dead on. I've tested her. She's been tested by other people. Matter of fact, as soon as we get the money, me and her is going out to Mexico to do the test to become certified and everything.
Cool.
So,
we actually had a guest on the show, Stephen Harefield, that was certified with the ARE, and that's a pretty good association to be certified with too. I hate to really kind of go back off subject. I love the people when they call in with these questions and stuff, and also this positive knowledge and other people's points of view. But
Definitely.
I'm so interested in the question that Sifu had asked, and is it the Washington Monument? I just have to know the answer to that.
Somebody type it in. Yes, it's the Washington Monument.
The Washington
Yep.
Monument.
Now here's the clincher.
Yes.
Yeah, aha. Now do the math.
Yeah.
Do the math.
555 plus or more times?
No, plus 111.
666.
Yeah.
Aha.
Oh, 666.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Do you think that's a coincidence?
No, there isn't any coincidences, so... Oh, man.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way we could tie the other monuments around there into this, like the obelisk and things like that?
Well, I'm sure. I haven't really gone that deep, but when that came to me, I had to stop and let it marinate, as I usually do when I get those profound things.
Well, when you put the numbers, it made me think a whole lot, and I was coming up with the 666, but I couldn't think of what it was.
And where it was, yeah.
There was another person that actually thought of that answer, a very smart individual.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you have anything more on the lines of that, Sifu?
Well,
I'm sure there's plenty more out there.
Yeah, there's so much, man. I'm kind of hesitant whenever we get on that particular area.
Yeah, I
there's
get
a very large and powerful group that runs that. So
yes, we definitely don't want to be messing with them guys. So
we got to play.
That could be a coincidence, but maybe not. And it goes a little further. In Scandinavia, there was a ritual with the Scandinavians in which they would build an altar and they would put a chim on top of their roof. Now, this is years before America. They put a chim. We call it today a chimney. And
it
so
was actually years before Christianity too. If you look at the word holiday, you can break it down into a holy day. And
yes.
Christian holidays actually go a lot further back.
Exactly.
And these are really just pagan holidays, correct?
Right, and this is where if you look in the Old Testament, there's a lot of controversy about the Old Testament and why God would say, do not intermingle, do not intermarry, do not take their gods, don't intermingle with the pagans and stuff like that. There's a reason for it, and it's if people are willing to embrace the truth or not. That's the bottom line. The truth, it hurts, it's difficult to embrace, but the truth is the truth. And so, but back on topic, as far as the chim, they would have a sacrifice, a goat or whatever, and they would sacrifice to a god that rode through the air on a sled, pulled by two goats named Gnasher and Crasher. Prancer, Dancer, Dasher, Donner. Does that sound familiar?
Wow.
So
okay.
So yes. So now it starts to come into focus a little bit more, and then when you consider who was riding on the sled, it was the god Thor. Now, when I was young, Thor was a superhero with the Super Friends. Now, further study shows that Thor was in league with the devil himself. And so now, if you also look further, you'll see that Thor is also the god of the Vikings. And they wore the horns, and they rode in what? Dragon ships.
Yeah.
Who's the dragon? And so all of this,
so
comes.
basically, we're pointing to, that these ancient Scandinavians were truly pagan idols, and they really praise these things.
Yes. I mean, they really...
I did not know that. I thought they were just almost non-denomination. They were just Viking pirates. I didn't know that they actually had beliefs like that.
Respectfully, for what we're talking about and what you're saying,
mm-hmm.
Odin was the god and Thor was the son of Odin.
Okay.
Similar to the Jesus and God story. You know, people, Christians, they say, you know, Jesus was the son of God. Thor was the son of Odin. Just out of my research, that's what I've gotten.
Well,
no, that's true.
Odin,
exactly right.
Isn't Odin part of Greek mythology also?
Yeah, yes it is, but now, but let me
correct on that.
Poseidon
was
in
okay.
And Zeus was in Roman.
There we
now,
go.
If I may add a little something about the Odin Thor thing, that's exactly right. But now, if you the further you check and start cross-referencing, you'll see there's a connection between Thor and the devil. And this is why, the horns, and the Vikings had the horns, and then they rode around in the dragon ships. There's a connection.
Wow.
Yeah, and so...
This is honestly I've slept on, guys, so I'm really fascinated right now. Please keep going on.
No, and there's more. As far as, the little kids, this is what the focus is. The focus is on little kids. This is why in the Word, Jesus says you must become as little kids. There's a reason for that. And, the devil counterfeits everything that God has ever done. So if God has a son, then, of course, you're going to see the same type of similarities with, demigods having sons and claiming to be benevolent and, requiring worship and sacrifice and all this stuff. Go ahead.
What are you going to say? This takes place all over the world in a lot of cultures.
Oh, yes.
Esoteric culture. The same type of story with the same type of stuff going on in reference
the
to
same deities.
The dragon, if you want to call them reptilians. We can get real deep into that subject if you really want to.
I say
listen.
There.
Hey, listen. Hey. You know what? I like the format, and I've structured myself in accordance to the format. So I'm ready. Once we get to that segment, boy, we can really take off with that. But I like to branch off into some more of the holidays. As Mel called it, holy days. That's so accurate.
You can break down a lot of words like that, and it's strange how our system of speech is set up with certain words that you can break down into certain things like history, his story.
But that's right. That's right. His story. That's right.
Yes, I'd definitely like to tackle some more of these fairy tales and myths we were talking about earlier. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, the next one is Halloween. I mean, many of us have I'm pretty sure delved into some studies about Halloween.
Yeah.
All Hallows Eve and stuff like that.
In the Latins, take that as the Day of the Dead, of course, and celebrate
it. That's right.
Like it's Christmas, really. That's a real strange factor I see. What's your opinion on that? People really going forth and celebrating the dead rather than life.
I tell you what. No, I tell you what. As far as the celebration of the dead, that one thing is I think that was the most. Well, I guess I could start off by saying, I kind of lean toward hanging on to, the Bible and the Word, not for religious purposes, but because of what I see prophetically, historically, civilization-wise, people, places, and events. It's undeniable, and so it's my main reference guide. But as far as the myths, I like to start by saying when we think of the word myth, most people turn off their brains. You don't really research it any further because myth means lie or myth means fairy tale, I think I mentioned before. And there's a word, mythos, which is synonymous with history. It doesn't mean lie. And so, the more people begin to become aware, the more they're going to start seeing these things on television and commercials everywhere. They're just going to start seeing it. And one of the major ways that you can see it is if you were to peel back the layers of our holidays. I'm pretty sure many people out there have wondered about the origin of some of the things, like Santa Claus.
Well, that sounds like a perfect one to start off with. I know a few things, and to be honest, I do not advocate Santa Claus or teach that within my own family. So, what's your thinkings and ideas on that one?
Well, I tell you, if you mention Santa as anything other than a jolly, benevolent, chubby man, it's going to cause a lot of issues with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are passionate about that. And I mentioned this in my book about how that's what they want. They want to steal your passions. And so when you look at Santa, if you scramble the letters Santa, you get Satan. Now that could be coincidental. You could say that's coincidental. You can also say it's coincidental that he's wearing a red suit. That's coincidental.
But then we all know there's no coincidences. So
exactly, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Now, as far as his little helpers, if you look up the word elf, you get mischievous creature. So now, why does Santa need mischievous creatures to help him build toys for little kids? And so, if you look a little further, I know there are many people that subscribe to the pagan religion, and that's fine. That's their choice, But the pagans used to call the devil Old Nick. Well, what do we call Santa? Old Nicholas, jolly old Saint Nick. And so it
loud and clear.
Okay.
Actually, if you could turn it down maybe one notch, that'll be perfect.
Okay, let me just move my mic here. I got a boom mic here. How's that?
You sound nice. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
As Melchizedek just requested that we played a disclaimer.
Okay.
There was a show that recently just got cut off again. Basically, was terminated.
Wow.
Due to the subject matters they're speaking upon, of course. It was Hollywood Tony P show, Mel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. What was he talking about?
He was basically talking about the 9/11 conspiracies and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And obviously...
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
And this is basically... Yes, this is basically the third person I know of who's got their show taken from them.
Yeah.
And
wow.
what happens, they basically just totally delete you from the system, everything. So if you have archives of shows, I'm pretty sure they're all gone. And this guy had a real great show. I just to put it out there for Blog Talk Radio, I'm not advocating what they were speaking of that night, and obviously the show isn't about that type of controversy. It's about enlightenment. But they were just speaking their mind, and their shows end up being cut off completely. So
I will touch on that topic that you just said, or that phrases you just said. They delete the archives of this and that. The archives are still in there. Every show that Knowledge Ever did is still in the archives, and you can still.
Well, why is it when I go onto a site, it just says user? User does not exist.
Their site is shut down, but you can go into the main archives, like type into the search, because that's how I went back and downloaded all the rest of his shows.
Off of the feed, right?
Yep, off the feed.
Oh, wow.
Because you can play it, and you can download it from the play screen while it's playing.
Okay.
Well, my disclaimer for the show Paranormal 101, of course, we love Blog Talk Radio. We have no quarries with them. It's a great establishment for people like us that are trying to get information out, but I guess it has to be within guidelines. So, of course,
totally understandable.
Yes, and if you ever think of getting on that type of subject matter, Gary, I just say throw a disclaimer out there, just like what I did, and I think that'll usually save you most of the time.
Just to show you what they're picky about too is they were talking about the 9/11 quote unquote conspiracy. Knowledge was reading the tablets of creation, Sumerian, and I also have another friend. Long, his show was actually they reserved him
easily to be one that's not as easily seen is the dressing up of different things like vampires, witches, demons, you name it. The dressing up of for fun, all in the name of fun. But now, if people would really realize that truth is stranger than fiction, that there were actually real vampires, that there were actually, there are actually real demons, and, of course, witches, and definitely werewolves, that they actually did exist. And if people would really realize what those things mean in the occult, or what those things mean on the dark side, I don't think they'll send their kids out dressed like that. I don't think they will take part in it. Now, some people, go ahead.
I just had a comment on the holidays that we're speaking about here, and there's a purpose for the holidays and why these occult figures, powers that be or whatever, promote these holidays, and it's energies that they feed on for the people. And a lot of people say, well, there are a lot of people that give positive energy into the holidays, but they don't think about the negative aspects like Christmas. People get upset when they don't get what they want. There's a lot of negative energy going on in Christmas, and a lot of people don't show it, but the energy is there. The energy never lies, and that's what they feel. This energy.
That's right. And, along with that, this is why, in my book, again, I mentioned, overcoming mental and spiritual manipulation through self-mastery under the will of God, because we are being manipulated, and we are being fed upon. And, like he just said, they want to inspire you, but with the wrong things, and therefore they can control your inspirations. Well,
Hello. Is everybody still there?
I'm here. Phone just kind of went dead for a second. I didn't hear nothing, but I still heard the music. So.
Okay. Is Sifu still on?
I'm not sure. I'm not hearing him.
Oh,
we got to put a disclaimer, man. We need to go ahead and do that, bro.
Yes. 1 second. Let me do that right quick.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views of Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, I saw Sifu Harris. He was back on, but I think he hung back up. Let's see if we can get him back on again.
Disclaimer. None of the opinions and views expressed by the people on the air tonight are the expressions and views.
Hello.
Gary.
Hello.
Did your phone cut out on you?
It probably did. How's the sound coming through?
It's coming through good now.
Clear.